Welcome to On the Firing Line on the information station, AM 1440 KUHL. Information, education, news, and politics of firearms and ammunition is found here. If you have any questions, call us at 1-888-625-1440. That's 1-888-625-1440.
Christy Vasilikos got into a heated argument with her boyfriend early one morning prior to kicking him out just before 6 a.m. He returned soon thereafter, however, and demanded to be let in. He broke several windows and banged on the front door. The fight moved outside to the sidewalk where the couple continued to argue. The noise woke neighbors, including Vicky Rock, who was staying at her boyfriend's apartment upstairs. Rock, age 50, went outside and tried to intercede when she saw Chrissy's boyfriend beating her with a metal object. When he turned on her, Rock pulled out her .45 caliber handgun and fired. Bang, bang. He staggered away and was later found dead in a nearby parking lot. This brought to you by Tampa Bay Times, Riverview, Florida. 8th month, 17th day, 2013.
That's right. You are on the firing line with Matt, Jim, and Joe today. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440. Or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, give us a call at 928-1440.
God, I lost it there. Is that August or?
It's August.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
But I like the interjection of bang, bang. That was kind of cool.
I had to add something in there. All right, we have an interesting show lined up today. We're going to be talking a little bit about the UN, the United Nations. Of course, I know we've talked about it a few times here, but I think we should return to it, especially now that Jerry Brown's vetoed the other bills that we talked about last week. This week, we can jump back into what's going to happen to the United States if the current administration does sign in, or actually they've already signed in, but we still need ratification and everything for the rest of the UN, United Nations Small Arms Treaty to take place. So it's kind of important that we talk about that, talk about what it means to us, what it can do to us, and maybe look a little bit deeper into the picture and try to see just how it can affect us later on.
Yep.
And also the ultimate goal of and why they might want to do this to us. So we will have a few articles. Number one article will be U.S. Senate says right to keep and bear arms is debatable.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, what are they thinking?
That's again,
what are they thinking?
Every time,
it's ridiculous.
Shall not be infringed. It seems like we always say that, but again, there it is.
Shall not be infringed. The people, the right of the people to bear arms.
Yep.
It says the people. I mean, come on. I mean, how simple is that?
Yeah, that's...
Yes, the militia. Well, the people.
The people. Yeah, the people. Even
those
if you don't...
are two separate things.
Right. If you don't call it one thing, it doesn't necessarily mean it's not what that is,
Weird. Right.
Just weird.
All right, the second article we have will be NRA reacts to the signing of the UN Arms Treaty. It's a blatant attack on the constitutional rights, they say.
Absolutely.
And we have the third article, what the United Nations Arms Treaty means to you. God, that's a tree.
Yeah, Arms Trade Treaty.
Yeah, that's like little baby rubber buggy bumpers.
Wow, you did that well.
You can do
Joe,
that.
that was really, you did that well.
Oh, gosh. All right, as usual, we want to talk about the Second Amendment encounter. I think that this is a little bit off topic of what today's show is about, but it's something that's important. There's a lot of domestic violence in the United States and across the world.
Yes.
And I think that it's important that we all recognize that anybody in a domestic violence situation, if your partner is bigger than you, outweighs you, has the ability to restrain you against your will and stuff like that, or aggressively attack you, I think that you should have the right to defend yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that should be it. This women should stand up and say, hey, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, it goes all the way back. Think of when, we were all in fourth grade or something. There was always the bully who's bigger than all the other kids, and he would beat up the little smaller kids type thing,
That's a good point. I mean, basically, that's what it is. When you get into domestic violence, it's usually a bully in the situation.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a very unfortunate thing. And it's something that, we have to teach our kids not to do. Give them moral character so that if they do get into a bad relationship, they have a common sense or the ability to step back and get out of it.
Yeah.
Especially a lot of these females out there that I'm afraid that A lot of them probably don't realize that they have places to go, or maybe don't even have a place to go to get out of it. And I think, though, that if they get involved with their communities and churches and stuff like that, a lot of times they will be able to find that there is a way out of it and somewhere they can go and people that will take them in. But there are a lot of people that don't have that connection to society. And so they stay in these situations and go through the suffering and stuff like that. And it's very unfortunate.
Right. And it's not like they want to stay in it. It's
Right.
just they're
Right.
literally trapped. I mean, we've all can probably state somewhere we've seen it before or
Right.
whatever, but they get trapped in a rut kind of. And like you said, Joe, I mean, that's a good point. If they can join a community organization or something, they can probably rise above it with a little bit of help.
Well, I want you.
Yeah,
I want
exactly.
to let you guys know that I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there is women's shelters in Santa Maria
Yes.
that do protect the women.
Yeah.
And there's several of them. As a matter of fact, I haphazardly went across one time. I had to make a delivery of a television that somebody wanted, and that's what the location was. And when I knocked on the door, you should have seen the look on the girl that answered the door.
Oh, wow.
I was like, I'm here to bring a TV in. And she said, who are you? I mean, I felt like a criminal. I really did. I felt like, wow, this is bad. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know where I was. I had no idea. It's they put them in places where, believe me, you would never have guessed that this would be a women's shelter.
Right.
And sure enough, the woman that told me to come and bring the television over, told my boss to, she came to the door. She goes, where are you from? And I told her, and she said, okay, come on in. But every one of those girls were petrified.
Wow,
As I
that's
walked
scary.
in and dropped that TV
They've
off.
come out of a totally abusive situation.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
know,
the knock on the door.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Man's
Absolutely.
at the door and everybody's
They have
flipping
no
out.
idea each corner they turn whether or not
Exactly.
there's this person there that wants to do bad things to them, unfortunately.
Horrible thing, yes.
We have to realize that when it's over, and we have to let people be humans. A good relationship, a healthy relationship, I think, two people are growing people, and they collide together like a collage. But when one person dominates and dictates to the other person how they're going to live and what they're going to do, there's problems there, and they need counseling or something like that. Unfortunately, I don't like to see anybody hurt, and so I thought maybe if we just talked about it for a couple minutes before we got into the rest of the show, it'd be a good thing.
It is.
Yeah, it's definitely a positive thing to shed light on. It's nothing that people really want to talk about. It's
No.
not something that we bring up a whole lot on the
Right,
show, but it's
right.
something that is a day-to-day realistic
It's
thing.
very important that we do talk about it. And then as men. you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
As men, we should be responsible for our wives and our loved ones, and not dictators and
and you being
abusers.
responsible for them, they're responsible for you too. And
exactly.
it's a collage.
Exactly.
It's a work together.
Works together. Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
But in those cases where there is no escape, and you do have somebody that is shadowing your every move even after you leave because they believe, hey, it's not over and you're my property, which is a lot of times what the case is. I think that these women, and believe it or not, there are cases of men out there that are in abusive relationships where the woman is doing that.
Oh, yeah.
And the women sometimes
it can happen.
overpower them. I've seen plenty of incidences of that where it's a small framed guy with a larger framed woman.
Or she has power over him, authority.
Yeah, mentally
Right.
too.
Very
You can-
true.
Authority. That one can be
But
very
when it
painful.
comes
Yes.
down to self-defense, you have to
Absolutely.
you have to rationalize things out. It has to be a situation where you fear for your life. I think we talked about that on the last show a little bit. What California dictates as grounds for that. So in these cases, it's going to be somebody who cannot protect themselves, who can be overpowered, in male or female. Most of the time, you're going to find it's female that's going to be overpowered.
Yes.
I believe that they have the right and should have that right to defend themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. That's how I was going to say that they should be the ones that should be for the Second Amendment more than anyone to help them protect themselves.
And
Because
I
there's a lot
think
of single
a
women
lot of
out
them
there
are.
too.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I mean, like Miss Rock right here, I mean.
Yeah, I love that. She's 50 too.
She's 50,
She's 50 years old.
She did not take any credit. She had
love
her
this.
gun and she was ready.
Yeah. One more step.
Yeah, I bet she had a really healthy relationship with her boyfriend.
Well, you know what?
God bless
You know
her.
what? I know there's a funny comment there, but I bet you they really did.
You're
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
I
No,
bet you they really
that's
did.
a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It really is.
God, who was it that said that having a firearm is the best exercise for the mind, the soul, and the physical body. I think it was Thomas Jefferson.
I was just going to say Jefferson, so
Yeah.
let's just go with that. If you guys can prove us wrong, give us a call.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We'd
we had
love
a
to
lot
hear
of
from
phone
you.
calls a couple of weeks ago. We need those phone calls coming in.
Give us a call at 888-625-1440, or, of course, if you're in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. If you have an experience where a firearm did help evade a
Yeah, there you
situation,
go.
or you were able to protect yourself, and you had to use force, share your experience. We'd like to hear about it. I think that would be something good for everybody to hear. It gives them an idea of how and what they can do, and what maybe the process that you took, and if you came out with a positive outcome, that's something we should share. On that thought, let's go over a little bit more of this Second Amendment encounter. It's good to see that a neighbor was able to step in. She didn't just watch it happen from a window. She was able to step in and actually take part and try to save another human being, which is qualities of a hero, I think.
Yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
something that probably walks a thin line of, she probably, they were having a pretty big commotion in the fight. The woman with the weapon, or the firearm, she probably waited a little bit of time. I don't assume she just woke up, grabbed the gun, and ran outside, and that was the perfect time the guy was beating this woman up. But, it kind of is a close call between privacy and then protection, but protection always is first.
Yeah, it's going to trump. I think you're absolutely right. Keep in mind out there, too, if you're in an abusive relationship, or if you even notice that it's going down that path, separate yourself. Get away from that person.
Absolutely.
So that you do not have to be put in the position to protect yourself.
Yep.
Because one thing I think Matt and I, and even Jim here, we've always talked about is you don't always have to go to a gun. You don't have to let a situation go that far.
Right.
You can avoid it by doing other things. It's de-escalation.
Absolutely.
And that's probably the most important step you can take out there.
Yeah, that's going to win more battles than anything else. Or, because even if you can avoid a battle, that's a battle won for you. Trust
Yep.
me.
All right. We should probably take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to jump right into today's show. The first article being U.S. Senate says right to keep and bear arms is debatable. We'll be right back with you on the firing line.
You're listening to On the Firing Line on the information station.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We'll be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440, or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifles, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building the AR-15, lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies are in stock, as well as a large selection of handguns, tactical shotguns, and bolt-action precision rifles.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes.
Located just off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit, look for the big rifle sign on the freeway, as well as the giant 5-ton tactical military truck. Support your Second Amendment rights and visit Tactical Guns and Gear today.
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years.
Now, a great word from Santa Maria Motorcycles, formerly Santa Maria Harley-Davidson, located at 2022 Prescott Lane. They are dealers for Honda, Kawasaki, and Harley-Davidson. Grab your family and go see the museum, filled with exciting older bikes that you won't see anywhere else on the Central Coast. As well, they are the #1 motorcycle dealer on the Central Coast with the largest inventory around. Go in and see Martin Buchanan, or you can give him a call at 805-928-3668. You can also go visit them every first Thursday of the month for Bike Night. Starts at 6 p.m. Have a great time with your family at Santa Maria Motorcycles.
You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440.
All right, we're back on the firing line with Matt, Jim, and Joe today. Of course, we promised you that after we came back from that break, we would start the discussion on the U.S. Senate says the right to keep and bear arms is debatable.
Yeah, now, if you're at all on the same track as Joe and I, you probably think this is not debatable whatsoever. Debatable.
Hello.
So, this is, again, where we're going to encourage you to call in and talk to us about this because, you're not sitting here with us, but we definitely still want to hear what you have to say. So give us a call at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, 928-1440. All right, let's get into this.
All right, the Second Amendment is not open to be infringed as the Supreme Court has ruled on it, and it's not open to discussion anymore.
Yep.
And I tell you that if you do get into a debate to where it's time to get rid of the Second Amendment, you might as well kiss everything else goodbye. When we have a government who wants to rule by tyranny rather than constitutional rights, we must stop to take control back at all costs, or our children will face slavery in the form of socialism by government control. And that is a serious fact, ladies and gentlemen. In this article that we're going to read today, every one of you out there should just be horrified by it. We have a constitution, and it's the best constitution in the United States. Most countries don't understand our constitution and have no idea what makes us who we are. But when our government sits down and it wants to change to be more European, it wants to change to be more like other countries, you have to ask yourself who's in control and what the heck are they up to? Yeah, exactly.
Just, simply why. Yeah, what are they up to and why?
They took an oath, and to take away from our constitutional rights is pure treason, if you ask me.
Absolutely. That's what I think. I mean, you like you just said, you take the oath to protect the Constitution.
Right.
And so when you try and change the Constitution, are you really protecting the oath?
Degrade it or take away from it and take away from what the people have set, what is set for the people, so that the people are in control, not the government. But
it's
our government.
It's almost like, when they're trying to change things like this, they use the devil's tactics, right?
Right.
He said to Eve, "Are you sure God said?" You know what I mean?
Very good point.
They use the same thing here in this article. I'm reading the article, and they use the same thing. Does that really mean this? You're like, no one. If they can get you, scratching your chin, then they got you.
They get you thinking about it.
Let me tell you something. When you're a salesperson and somebody stops thinking about what you're doing and starts thinking about what you just said, you got them. They're going to buy what you got. It's simple as that.
All right, this article was written by Paul Joseph Watson. You can find it on Infowars.com. It was written October 15th, so just a few days ago. It goes on like this. According to the U.S. Senate, the individual right to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment is debatable. A Senate.government guide to the Constitution contains an explanation next to every section and amendment of America's founding document. The Second Amendment guarantees a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Before I read on, this is it. They say a well-regulated militia. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call a militia, great.
But the next word you can't change.
You cannot change the right of the people to keep and bear arms.
Yeah,
that's a whole different part. It's a whole different sentence. It's a whole different part of the amendment.
Yeah.
And those of you who want to argue and debate the militia statement,
right? Yeah,
you go ahead.
Are you not a people? Are you not a person in this state? Because I guarantee you are. So this pertains to you. It's that,
And it shall not be infringed.
Yeah, it's simply put. That's dry cut right there.
But they've infringed it a lot.
Oh, yes, they have.
Oh, man.
However, according to the Senate website, whether this provision protects the individual's right to own firearms or whether it deals only with the collective right of the people to arm and maintain a militia has long been debated. The explanation makes no mention of a 2008 Supreme Court ruling, the District of Columbia versus Heller, which affirmed the Second Amendment protects the individual right to own guns. A separate Supreme Court ruling in 2010 confirmed that the Second Amendment right of an individual to keep and bear arms applied to both state and local gun control laws. The Senate website reads like a signing statement of the entire Constitution. Every single section and right is explained, and in some cases reinterpreted. Schools are also erroneously using the Senate's interpretation of the Second Amendment to suggest the right for Americans to own firearms is restricted to state militias. American history students at Denton Guyer High School in Texas are being taught that the people have a right to keep and bear arms in a state militia. Yes. Go ahead.
That just makes me say, whoa, that, I mean, that's kind of like Jim just said, they're twisting the words. That's total manipulation right there.
Absolutely.
And they're telling that to the kids in high school.
Oh, yeah.
They're supposed to be learning this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows you in what the wrong direction we're headed right there.
Very
They're
wrong.
starting it from the stock.
Indoctrination with our children.
Well, that's what they want to do. That was Hitler's big thing. Get the children, you got the parents.
Yeah, true. Scary.
That's what Hitler's thing was. That's why he had the soldiers.
Yeah, the youth.
The youth movement, what they're called the brown shirts.
Right. You know what we need to do? Those of us who are on the right, we need to go out, get teachers' credentials, and invade the schools and start putting out what we believe is right. Let us be the teachers. And so then maybe you'll hear both sides. Maybe one class will have a heavily left side and the next class will have a heavily right until after we've gotten rid of the left side.
Yeah, or at least even the keel. I'm not trying to destroy anybody. I just want to even the keel and
scorched earth just doesn't work.
Right. Yeah, scorched earth doesn't work.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. So it's obviously not just state militias. We're talking about people. We're talking about you and me. We're talking about you listening. So
there you go. Hey, it sounds like Jeff. Well, we're getting a dial tone, but is Jeff on the line with us today? Hold on a second. Jeff, you there? We lost you. Please call right back. We do want to hear from you. If we're having problems with the phones, we apologize. Let's see here. Again, under the Second Amendment, implying that there is no individual right to own guns. And I tell you, it's the people. Hey, it sounds like Jeff is back with us. Well, looks like we lost him again. Sorry, we apologize for the inconvenience there. Anyways, there is no individual right to own guns under the Second Amendment is what was implied. The First Amendment is also summarized as meaning only that Congress may not favor one religion over another. Many Americans would be concerned to realize that the very body concerned with upholding and protecting their rights under the mandate of the Constitution, the U.S. Senate, refuses to fully acknowledge the fundamental right to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment. That is unbelievable to me. All right, Jeff, are you back with us?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Great one there. I can hear you now.
I can hear you now.
How you doing?
Good. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, excellent. It's good to hear you on the show. What's your comment today?
I have two comments.
All right.
One, you should continue to understand that the FBI said America is well armed. 200 million people have it. I'm a lifetime hunter, lifetime gun nut, lifetime NRA member. There are two things that have to be done about. Number one, you, the people of the radio and the publicity, need to inform the American gun owner how and what the laws are to carry his guns outside of his house. He is afraid to take them out of the house and to take them to the rifle range to hunt anymore. That's the major reason going on. So you have to inform them of the minutiae laws, the local laws, so he's not afraid to put it in the back of the car, put it in the back of the pickup, go to the firing line or go hunting. Number two, you need to be positive in the actions. I went to the NRA and they turned on an action that I suggested. I suggested that they, on every day that we fly our flags, every member of the NRA or gun owner take his gun, his rifle or his pistol where he can, and put it in his car or carry it. So when we fly the flag, we carry our arms, which we have the right to do.
Absolutely.
Those two things would solve the problem.
Well, I think that would be a good step in the right process. Education is absolutely the most it's the best way that we can get people through it. And what you're advocating is education so that people can follow through with their Second Amendment and their First Amendment and all the other rights. It's It's the key element. Unfortunately, here in California, we're so barred, and you're right. So many people are afraid to put their firearms in their car because they're afraid they're going to go to jail. They're afraid of all kinds of things, or they're going to be persecuted. I mean, they're made to feel like a minority when, in fact, just like you said, by the FBI statistics, we are not a minority. We are the majority.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, that's right. But you need to educate everyone, us, about what the local Santa Maria, Lompoc, Santa Barbara County, what the laws are, so that the men and people of this county, your area, can take their guns out with them. And then we need to do something positive, like when you fly the flag, carry your gun that day. Put it in your car, show it out of your window. Be proud that you have a right to carry your gun.
You know, we do on this show, and if you've listened to past shows, you'll probably realize we've gone over some of the local and state laws on what you can, how you can carry your gun and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. One thing we haven't touched on that maybe would be a good point that you've made is just exactly how a militia can be involved in that, because maybe that does extend different rights to you. And as far as putting your flag out, I think that that's something that every good American should do, and they should be proud to put it out. But we do try to teach people that, and we are trying to educate people. If you ever want to, you can go back onto our Facebook page, look at some of the past shows, and you'll see that we have done exactly that. I appreciate your call today, and you've come up with some great ideas. I thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
You got it. You have a great day. All right, I think that was a good call. He had some good points. I don't advocate that you go waving your guns out the window, but if you've got a flag, wave it out your car window. I think that would be good.
Absolutely, yeah.
I second that.
Yeah.
And we will try to bring more up. I'll look into some of the militia stuff and see if there's anything. Because, I mean, if we go back into... go back to the founders. Go back to the papers, the constitutionalist papers and stuff like that we've been reading and bringing up in articles and stuff on our Facebook page. I think that you will see there is a right to do that. In California, it's going to be a little bit harder. There are some bad laws, and it is our responsibility to break some of those bad laws because they're not good, and that's what our forefathers would have wanted us to do. Keep in mind, if you have children and stuff like that, you're going to have to weigh in what you're willing to do and what consequences you're willing to stand up to.
Yeah, that's a personal choice for everybody. Don't do something because we tell you to, and also don't do something out of emotion. Think it out first before you do anything like this. I know most people, we feel very strong about our rights and about the Constitution, and it can get an emotionally charged going pretty quick.
Absolutely.
But just think about it a little bit before you act.
Think of this too. What he's trying to say is he's come up with an idea that he believes will make the change and make it happen pretty much immediately.
Yeah, rapidly.
Unfortunately, there are enough people out there that are afraid of guns by ignorance, and like he's saying,
exactly,
that if we were all to start carrying our guns, you can imagine, because we're already considered the minority, even though we are the majority, what the news will do.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. Forget that.
What we need to do is redoctrinate our children to be Americans again, to stand up for morals, stand up for constitutional rights, and if we did that, we would have more of our children growing up to be responsible adults that may have firearms, not necessarily in their car, but on their side for self-defense. Heck, if we had a responsible society, there is no such thing as a perfect society, we really wouldn't need firearms. But that's not the case.
But utopia doesn't exist.
Right, exactly.
That's a Disneyland ride. That's not real.
That's a good point. And that's something what we have to teach our children is there is no perfect utopia. You cannot appease everybody at once.
Yeah.
You can't. Laws don't change human behavior. Human behavior is human behavior. If they're gonna, we've talked about this a lot on the show. If you're going to kill somebody, you're going to use something to do it.
Right.
And a firearm is, even if you make that hard to get, even harder to get, they'll come up with a new and a more inventive way to do it.
Whether it's burning people, using acid to scar people for lives, gathering people up and putting them in churches, which has happened many times in the past, and burning the churches down, burning homes down, putting crosses up in people's things and getting people to come out in fear or stay in their houses in fear.
Stuff.
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff out there that happens, and people are going to do wicked things out there.
Yeah, the word there is endless.
Endless.
Just like you just said,
Absolutely.
endless. It's endless what they'll do. And I think what happens, this man brought up a pretty good point. It's just the education of it that use it as a defensive mechanism instead of an offensive mechanism.
Right.
Right.
And that's really what this whole show is really about. Is
But-
to defend your rights too.
You're right.
besides that.
Absolutely.
Well, are you sure it's about defending your rights?
I can see though that the more people see us with firearms, the more it will become a generally accepted thing.
Yeah, but I seen it when I was a kid. There wasn't hardly, in this town anyway, in Santa Maria, in 1970, you probably seen maybe 25 pickups a week.
With rifles in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they always had a rifle rack.
Kids used to take
That's
their
how I-
22s on their bikes down
All the
to
time.
to the wash and go shooting.
Right. I remember that. But and you're not allowed to do it anymore.
Right now, it's unfortunate. To transport your firearm in the state of California, it is state law. You must have it locked in the trunk or in a locked bag or locked with itself
Yep.
with a lock through it. That's the only way you can transport your firearm right now. If you're going hunting, it's going to have to be in a locked box or in your locked trunk. Rifles right now, you cannot have a rifle exposed unless it has a lock on it. If it doesn't have a lock on it, then it has to be covered.
Yep, and take that lightly too, because just because it has a lock doesn't mean that somebody can walk by if they don't know about guns and they just see a AR-15, an evil black rifle sitting in the back of your seat. They're not going to hone in on the little lock going through the breech. They're
Through
going
the action,
They're just going to see
Overreact. Yeah.
They're just going to see a big.
They're going to
gun.
call the police. The police are going to show up and they're going to investigate. They're going to take a look to make sure things are done right.
It's an MWG man with gun. They have to show up when they get those calls.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
So-
people are freaked out. But we're not educating them enough. We're not telling them enough.
Well, we're stirring the pot, and
That's true.
People are getting. It's just like how you said, people, they're turning it again.
Yeah.
It's just constantly. This
You know
is
what
what's
we'll have to
happening.
do is I'll reach out again to a couple of the chiefs of police out here. It's been a long time since we've had one of them on the show.
That's
Yeah,
a great
that'd be
idea.
good.
And we can have them explain it to the people exactly how they perceive the law.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Perception of the law is very varied, from your police to the district attorneys to the people around you in society.
Yeah.
Everything. And from one person to the next, you're going to get a different opinion of what something means.
Yeah, that's like when I was in Tennessee. I asked one of the law enforcement guy that was just in Tennessee or in Memphis there, and I asked him, "What's the deal with carrying a pistol?" He said, "No, not at all." And then he ended that with, "But that's just my opinion."
Oh man, no way.
Yeah, and I had just came from a class, and I knew it was everything. I was legal, everything was good. But this guy, no, it's totally illegal. You can't do it. But that's just my opinion. So that goes to show.
But you know what though? You could be wrapped up in court over that. If it's something
People
that
have
you-
opinions all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've known people to get wrapped up in things that they were totally innocent of.
Mm-hmm.
Totally innocent of.
Unbelievable. All right, before we go to a quick break, I want to touch on one more thing. If you're in an unincorporated area, I believe you can still open carry. I'll have to double check on that, but I believe that you can. Incorporated areas where cities and stuff like that are, we know it's against the law.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. When I've gone up into the hills, like the glass factory there, usually people are wearing their pistols up on their sides and stuff, And I've been there multiple times, and the rangers come up, they say hi. They don't give you any slack for having a pistol on your side.
Right, there you go. All right, so here we're going to get into a break here. Before we do, I just wanted to give you a thought. Why would the UN want us to have registered firearms? Why has any country in this world that has ever committed to registry of firearms, why did they want that? What did they use the information for? This is something we have to ask ourselves. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about how the NRA reacts to signing of UN arms trade treaty as a blatant attack on constitutional rights. And furthermore, I believe that there's an agenda that goes far beyond that the UN is setting up the world for. So we'll be right back with you on the firing line.
We'll be back to more of On the Firing Line with Joe and Jim after this.
This is On the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. We'll be right back with you on the firing line. If you have any questions, give us a call at 888-625-1440 or in the Santa Maria area, 928-1440. Don't forget, you can always listen in on am1440.com.
Tactical Guns and Gear is the Central Coast leader in tactical rifle, pistols, shotguns, and accessories. Building the AR-15, lower receivers, parts kits, trigger groups, and a ton of other AR parts from the most popular companies are in stock, as well as a large selection of handguns, tactical shotguns, and bolt-action precision rifles.
They are also the home of the Women's 101 Firearms and Women's Advanced Pistol classes.
Located just off the 101 freeway in Santa Maria near the North Broadway exit, look for the big rifle sign on the freeway, as well as the giant 5-ton tactical military truck. Support your Second Amendment rights and visit Tactical Guns and Gear today.
On the Firing Line is happy to have Law Offices of Christopher Coleman as a sponsor. The Law Offices of Christopher Coleman is located in Santa Barbara on 2019B State Street, specializing in personal injury and, more importantly, the Second Amendment and On the Firing Line with Matt and Joe. Give them a call at 805-682-3352, serving the Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and San Luis Obispo areas for over 25 years. You are on the Firing Line with Matt, Jim, and Joe. Be a part of today's show by calling in at 1-888-625-1440, or if you're in the local Santa Maria area, please give us a call at 928-1440. That's right, we're back on the Firing Line, and we're now going to get into the NRA reacts to signing of UN Arms Trade Treaty. Is that a blatant attack on constitutional rights?
Absolutely.
I think so.
Absolutely.
So, this is something, that we asked you to think about a little bit before we went to the break. And, where do you stand? How does this affect you? And what, in the past, so when you look at history, what has happened to societies that have had all these gun laws put on them?
Genocide.
Oh, no, worse. They've been overrun.
Overrun, but genocide, dude.
Oh, it is. It was, yeah.
100% genocide.
Yeah.
You look at almost every major war that's gone for registration of firearms, and you will see behind it genocide.
Yeah,
Why?
it's
It's
scary.
because they want to have the ability to disarm before they implement.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a scary reality, but that's the truth. I mean, you just put yourself in somebody's boots. If you wanted to go into a house, would you rather 50-50 know they had a gun, or be sure that they didn't have a gun? Or,
I'd rather know they didn't have a gun. Actually, I'm an American. I want them to have a gun, and I'm not going into their house unless they
See?
do and they've invited me.
Exactly.
Absolutely. That's correct. Whether you're wearing a blue helmet or not.
Yeah, hey, blue helmets show up on my street. They better be there to have a good time. All right. Secretary of State John Kerry did sign the UN Arms Trade Treaty on behalf of the Obama administration, and the National Rifle Association, which has spent years fighting the treaty, isn't happy about it. Now, personally, I think this is treason.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It goes right-
Absolutely.
yeah.
How could he sign an agreement like that?
When he took an oath.
Exactly. And it's against the Second Amendment for us to do him to do that.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I didn't like this guy when he was running for president. I don't like him
Same
now.
here.
I just don't like the guy. I'm sorry, John. Get a new face or something. Somebody's got to help. I got to tell that guy. You know what? You're about the ugliest human being
If he
alive.
doesn't like it here, he can move. He's
Yeah.
got more money than most of us.
His wife does, yeah.
Yeah,
Heinz,
you're right.
yeah, she owns-
Maybe he doesn't have a drop. I mean, the Obama administration is once again demonstrating its contempt for our fundamental individual right to keep and bear arms. Executive Director of the NRA's Institute for Legislative Action, Chris W. Cox, said, "This treaty threatens individual firearm ownership with an invasive registration scheme. The NRA will continue working with the United States Senate to oppose ratification of the ATT." Thank God we have people or groups, entities like the NRA out there who are fighting for us, because if we didn't, you can guarantee you'd wake up one morning and all your rights would be gone.
Red Dawn.
Yeah. The
Red
news,
Dawn.
Well, the news wouldn't even pick up some of it because they just follow along.
Yeah, it would
suit.
happen so quick.
Yeah.
You're so right. Yeah, and that's,
Unbelievable. And again, here's the thing. We've been fighting for so long to keep our government from making us register our guns.
Yeah.
And now we're going to have to fight a foreign entity to keep from registering our firearms.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. That shall not be infringed. I mean,
Yeah.
it just, I want to scream it.
The right of the people.
And it just seems so obvious to me. But, and I'm no brilliant expert, but it just seems so obvious. Like,
No, don't
I just
sell
want to shake
yourself short.
somebody. Oh, thank you, sir.
Keep in mind, the treaty isn't about weapons of war as the UN wants us all to believe, but instead covers small or light weapons, which means firearms owned by U.S. citizens are fair game. And here's something else from the NRA. Notably, the ATT includes small arms and light weapons within its scope, which covers firearms owned by law-abiding citizens. Further, the treaty urges record-keeping and end users, directing importing countries to provide information to an exporting country regarding arms transfers, including end-use or end-user documentation, for a minimum of 10 years. Each country is to take measures pursuant to a national laws to regulate brokering taking place under its jurisdiction for conventional arms. Data kept on the end users of imported firearms is a de facto registry of law-abiding firearm owners, which is a violation of federal law. Even worse, the ATT could be construed to require such registry to be made available to foreign governments.
Wow, that's scary right there.
You know, this is all to stop, or at least under the guise to stop violations of human rights.
Yep.
Well, what a lot of people don't really understand is that outside of the United States, violation of human rights is thought of a little bit differently. In self-protection, in killing a person who's trying to kill you, some countries and some people or entities believe that that's a violation of human rights. And if you are being sold a gun for self-protection, that gun is ultimately going to be used for violation of
So basically
Of human
murder
rights.
is what they're saying.
human rights is what they're saying. We as Americans believe we have the right to stand up and protect ourselves, and that is not a violation
But
of
I
human
don't live
rights.
there.
Right. But this is
I don't
going to be
live there.
imposed upon us.
I don't care what they do. I wonder if Mogadishu has signed that agreement. You know what I'm saying? Where they run around and they have everybody's got a weapon. You know, it's crazy. It's a stupid idea. It's utopian kind of Pollyanna thing that people are coming up with,
That
and then
never
we
works.
as Americans let a guy sign this.
Right. You know, it kind of goes back to the same thing that happened here in California. What? You're going to restrict us law-abiding citizens who do follow the law, who do act responsibly with our firearms, who aren't going out trying to create mass murder all over the place. Yes, you're going to have an individual here and there, and you're going to have a country here and there that's going to screw up, and we're going to have to deal with them. But you do not go after the people who are law-abiding and responsible and who make the world turn.
Yeah, and that again seems like it would be pretty common sense, but apparently it's not.
But they make laws. The one that got me the biggest in the last 10 years or so, the one they made where everybody had to have access for handicap. Now, I'm not saying anything about the handicap. Now, listen to me very carefully, okay? Good law, good thought, human beings trying to do something for people who are handicapped. Okay, I ain't got anything against it. But a lot of companies couldn't jump on that because it was like, for a small company, it was like $10,000
to put a ramp in. Yeah,
put
it's
a
big
ramp
deal
in, put a different toilet in, put
Yep.
Not that. What if they needed customer service? That means they got to put a new portion of it where they can get to the place. And some of these places never see a handicapped person. Let's say
Right.
on the boat docks,
It's a good
we
point.
have a they're not coming out there. They just can't make it out there. But the idea wasn't a bad idea. It was just not well thought out completely.
Well,
As most things aren't.
So guess what happens?
companies
A lawyer
start getting
gets a
sued.
hold of it.
Yeah.
Start suing people. I remember
Start
the guy that was
suing
running
people.
around
Yeah,
the
but
West Coast.
He got
Yeah.
nailed.
Yes, he
He
did.
got nailed pretty bad.
Yeah.
But think of this.
But that's what happens.
You're-
See, my
you're
point is
absolutely
that's
right.
what happens.
That's the mindset
It's
of
the
it.
mindset.
Yeah.
There's going to be some evil mind out there that's going to work against that. Say, hey, now that they made the law.
But think of the whole picture here. Okay, if we talked about registration leading to genocide, leading to implementation of certain things like that, we know for a fact that some of the presidents within our country here have talked about a new world order.
Yeah.
Okay, we know that the only way to implement that is to get rid of the United States government system, to relinquish control of other countries and our country's militaries to a United Nations type of entity so that they can go to the countries who aren't willing to and make it happen. One world government so that everybody can be on the same page. I personally never want to see that happen.
No, why? Why do they want
I'm
that?
a Christian, and I believe that will lead to the end times.
But,
and
think
whatnot.
about that. Why would you want that? Why can't
You shouldn't want that.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
can't people in
But
Brazil
this,
live like
this
Brazilians
small arms treaty
and do what they want
is
to
one
in
of the
Brazil?
small steps to get them closer to that, so that maybe in 100 years we are there.
You know what? I don't belong to the Rotary. I don't belong to Elks. But do I care whether they're here or not? No. Hey, they can do whatever
I think
they want
the Elks
to.
is a great.
No, they are. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about them. I'm
Right.
not saying. I'm saying. But what if we all
But
said
it's-
no? We all got to be elks. We
Then it
all
would
got to be
become-
moose.
Yep.
We all got to be. You know,
Who's
it
going to
just don't
dictate who's
work.
going to be what?
Yeah, it just
yeah.
doesn't work.
You
And
know,
who's gonna,
there's a lot
there
to
it
be
is,
said
Joe.
about that.
Who's going to be the chief with all the feathers?
Right.
Who's going to be the main guy or the main woman or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
There's where the rub is.
That's the whole thing. And I'm not saying I'm an extremist that I think that the world's going to be taken over right away or anything like that. But I think that if we're not careful and we don't watch what we do and what happens around the world, that these things can come into play, and that we can
Absolutely.
have a ruler or a dictator over the world.
We just
And-
said that.
And I don't want that.
We
Yeah.
just said that with the handicap thing.
Right.
There's
Right,
some
yeah,
nutcase that just started going around suing everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
And winning some of them too, and extorting money from them, saying that if you pay me, I won't sue you.
Now, here's one thing, too. We have never allowed another military or another government or entity to come in and have rights or say over American citizens.
Which is right. We shouldn't.
We don't need the UN having power over U.S. citizens. We are a sovereign country with our own constitution to give us unfettered rights. That's it, period.
Yeah, and that's something that is again, it's short and sweet, you guys. I mean, it's just and that's the truth right there. I'm so I got all this stuff pent up in me. This is really
Let it out, brother.
It's
Just go
aggression.
ahead. You got
right.
liberty.
We should probably take one last break. I know it's only going to leave us about. You think we should go ahead and keep going with this one? All right, we'll go. We've been told, go forth, deliver the information,
Deliver the information.
throw the truth darts. That's
There
Matt's
you go.
line.
Yeah,
Let's-
I like
let's do
that.
it.
I think that's gonna stick, dude.
Truth dart.
All right, we have this next article. There's no way we're going to be able to get through it all, but hopefully we can get through at least the first half of it. There's a lot of good stuff in there. It's what the United Nations Arms Trade Treaty means to you. Little baby rubber buggy bumpers again. This was written by David Fortier, September 27th of 2013. And kind of goes on like this. The treaty establishes regulations for countries who sell or trade weapons across their borders. Official United Nations documentation would be required for the transaction of all types of weapons, from tanks to small arms.
No, where's the sense in that? There's not an Abrams and a 9mm handgun have nothing in common.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'm just saying.
We need a phone call to
Just
clarify
saying.
this.
Yeah, humans just being human.
Now, Kerry and the Obama administration hope their support will motivate other countries to sign on. But so far, only 6 nations have ratified the treaty. The ATT requires ratification from at least 50 countries to become UN policy. China and Russia were among 23 nations who abstained from voting.
Of course.
Now, hey, I'm starting to wonder,
Big surprise,
is
right?
Russia becoming the good guys?
Oh no.
Hey, I know it's a terrible
But
thought.
that could be the shift. It's scary, but that's kind of the truth there.
Wow.
You know what we should do? Somebody mentioned this the other day. We should just measure out 25 states for the liberal point of view or whatever, and
Just cut it
25
down the
states
line.
for the, and just say,
Yeah,
hey,
but
look.
once we start to prosper, they're all going to want to come over.
That's what they said. They said, no, that wouldn't be good because once we start doing good, they're going to want our land.
Then we're going to have a DMZ
See?
in the United States.
Parallel. What parallel would that
But
be?
we would give them their own. We give them their own states. You know, you can have whatever state you want, and we'll take the other 25.
You know, I'm sure that everybody in all the other states are going, no!
Exactly.
Well, they already got New York, New Jersey, California, Oregon, Washington,
Massachusetts.
How are you going to fit them all in New York?
New Hampshire.
It's
New
already
Hampshire.
cram-packed.
Yeah, or you can have Bloomberg
Yeah, but we'll have
dictate.
all the free air, you know, because it'll take all the dirty, you know, like Michigan. And
Oh, my goodness. All
I
right.
just went on a tangent, didn't
Yes,
I, guys?
you did.
I don't know what's going on with me this Saturday. I just,
Well, you're having fun, that's for sure. That's good. Many of the countries who didn't sign the treaty cited vague language in the document
Of
that
course,
fails to punish countries who don't play by the rules. Can you imagine
yeah.
punishing American citizens because we didn't play by the rule?
You cannot get
Hey.
me. Yeah, that's just and. Go ahead.
All right. The new global legislation also threatens the constitutional rights of American citizens. Again, with that global.
Yeah, there it is. Exactly.
I told you. One world government. Hey, according to the NRA Executive Vice President Wayne LaPierre on NRA News, the UN has consistently refused to recognize the legitimacy of a firearm in any individual citizen's hands anywhere in the world, including the United States of America. LaPierre added, It is nothing more than gun registration by a different name. And that's exactly the truth.
Yep, camouflage.
Though Kerry's signature is a questionable move on the global playing field, international treaties require 2/3 of the U.S. Senate approval for official ratification. To date, at least 35 out of the 100 U.S. senators have rallied against the ATT, citing the treaty's infringement on constitutional rights. Only 35 out of 100?
Yeah.
Where's the rest of these nutcases?
Thank you. That's exactly what I was thinking. 35%, you guys. 35% of the
It's
people
35
that we
out of 100. Yeah, that's 35%.
35% of the people we
Crazy.
elected are doing the quote-unquote right thing, or what they think might be towards the right direction.
So,
That is a huge gap.
so we have 65 traitors among us?
Absolutely.
Minimum.
Hello. Among those opposed, Senator Bob Corker, a Republican from Tennessee, wrote a letter to President Obama warning him not to take action without Senate approval.
I warn you.
Well, it's not too far off, and they're going to get what they want.
Yeah.
And that's regardless of what we think. Despite the fact that the treaty would make imported firearms unavailable to American consumers, Kerry claims it would actually protect American people.
How?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How?
I'd really like to
You know,
understand that one.
John Kerry, who just was a terrible Vietnam veteran. I mean, Vietnam veterans are embarrassed of him.
Wow.
Was he really one?
Yes. Unfortunately, wounded, and he threw his medal back over the wall.
Oh, he's one of those awesome
Yeah.
possums.
Unbelievable. You know, that brings silence immediately. All right. In response to Kerry's ATT signature, Chris Cox, executive director of the NRA ILA, said the Obama administration is once again demonstrating its contempt for our fundamental individual right to keep and bear arms.
Of course, it's Chris. You know, California's Chris Cox. I mean, the guy's just a terrific guy.
Yeah.
He's an awesome guy. I wish he could run for state senator. He'd win.
That'd be
in California,
awesome.
He'd win.
While it appears treaty ratification is essentially dead in the water, it's still up to the American people to contact their senators and remind them to support their right to bear arms.
Yep.
You remember that's the whole thing. I think that Governor Brown actually did get a lot of letters, a lot of phone calls.
Yeah, he did. He got raked through the coals for not signing some of those bills.
Well, and you know what?
For signing some of them, too.
For signing
And
some
for
of them
signing
too.
some of them
But
too, yeah.
it was the people before the whole
yeah.
thing happened, all the letters and the calls, I think,
Right.
that helped make a difference on why
absolutely.
he was able to see
Yeah, I
the
agree.
truth behind things.
100%.
And it didn't happen. But that's the kind of atmosphere we need to create so that we can guarantee that these things don't happen. Ah, God, it's just unbelievable.
And it's always going to be hard to guarantee that something like this isn't going to happen. You know, I mean,
I know.
Of course, 20 years ago, none of us would even think this is
I know.
remotely a.
Oh yeah, our parents would have never conceived of this.
Right.
Well, at least I would hope they wouldn't have. I've met so many people that are older than I am, and well, I don't want to call myself old yet, but you know, they come in and they say that I can't believe this. This is not what I wanted to create for my children. This
It's a
is
travesty.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
I would have never thought that this would happen. And this goes far beyond just the firearms. It goes on to the Obamacare. It goes on to the debt that we have and that we're borrowing money from other countries. For what? So we can give it away to other countries?
Yeah.
And pay off debts that...
What example does that set?
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, if you're looking up, if you're a kid growing up and you see the government's, taking all these handouts and stuff from other countries, what's that kid going to think when he needs something later on in life? Instead of going, I need to go work my ass off a little harder to get the money for this job, I'll just stick my hand out and get $10.
Right. That is not good at all. That's an excellent point. You know, that's another thing gets me to is the thing with immigration. They want to legalize all these guys, and they keep saying, well, nobody else will do the work. So what you're doing is saying,
Yep.
hello, we need a slave environment. Come on over, be our slaves.
Yeah.
That's so un-American that it's
Right.
not even funny.
Yeah, and when they say that they're not, it's just work they're not willing to do. It's not work that they can't do. It's exactly.
Me too.
It's a good point, Jim.
Hey, I've done all kinds of stuff.
I used to cut fruit. My friends used to pick lettuce right out here, not more than a quarter mile from where we're sitting.
Hey,
They used to pick
the
lettuce
world
there.
needs ditch diggers too.
Yes, but once you found out you could get on unemployment or get welfare,
There was no real
I bet you
unemployment
didn't do
in
it
those days.
anymore.
And besides, you were kind of ostracized if you collected unemployment. I remember when I got out of Vietnam and I came, they go, a few friends of mine, hey, you can collect unemployment. Others were going, get a job.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Hello?
Now it's like, hey, you got unemployment.
no. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
how
right.
long you got it for?
Yeah, you're right.
How much
That-
are you getting?
Yeah, and let's take that money and do this, and this. It's true. That's it's sad, but that's how people.
Yes,
are
we
living.
just lost about I don't know how many listeners.
90% of our demographic just
What?
imploded
They
on
don't like
itself.
that? No, no, we're not saying that. I would imagine most people who listen to this show probably agree with us 100% on this.
Duh.
But there are a lot of people out there that are willing to take advantage of the situation. Now, granted, unemployment, I think, is something that you pay into and you deserve to have access to, and it should be there for emergencies. And especially in times like these when we have a government that is destroying at least I believe, destroying so many jobs, to where they're creating a situation to where you have to go out and do this, and it's unfortunate. I don't know the answer, and I'm going to keep reading and trying to educate myself so that I can one day hopefully understand and try to figure it all out.
Yep. And that's all we can do, and you guys can do it too. Just constantly every day, do a little bit more information, try one day a week, and you'll find out a whole bunch more than you already know. It's out there. You just got to look for it.
All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Don't forget, Halloween's coming up.
Yep. Have fun and be safe out there.
Yeah, stay tuned next week for our zombie show. Yay!